Hey guys, I'm Bo Valentine. I use she, they pronouns, and welcome to my April wrap-up. I'd say this month was really successful. I read 11 books, and I also have found a couple of new favorites. One of them, I think, might be a #1 all-time favorite now. I think it might have beat out Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. Oh my gosh. I know, I can't believe it. I was shocked. And it also just so happened to be the first book that I read this month, which was A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. I actually listened to this on audiobook, and I had to stop listening at one point. It got to like 90% and I was like, I don't want to finish it. Like, I want it to end like just right here, you know, like let's not move any further. I don't want it to end. It was so good. This book follows our main character Monty, his best friend Percy, and his sister Felicity as they all embark on a last trip around Europe, except it does not go as planned. Monty is a little bit mischievous. He's kind of a slut, and he ends up stealing this like little box thing. And then from there they go on this very crazy adventure trying to figure out like what the importance of this box is. What does it do? Where do they like return it? What do they do with it? All while being pissed at Monty for stealing it in the first place. And then Percy, I love Percy. I loved him so much. He was such a good, like, grounding part of this story. But we find out that he is sick, and we find out that this box can help him in his sickness. And we also find out that Monty and Percy are a little bit fruity, which was obviously my favorite part of it. I thought that they were so cute, and I think that they had really good chemistry. And then we have Felicity, who I know she has her own book. I don't know what it's called, and I'll probably read it someday. Eventually I'll read it, but she is a fucking slay, all right? I loved her so much. She wants to go to med school and become a doctor, except, you know, it's the 1800s and that's not really a thing that women can do. And she is just very headstrong, and she's smart and witty, and I fucking loved her. Also, there were pirates in this, which I was like, oh my god, pirates. I loved how Monty's daddy issues was written. I wasn't like totally expecting it, but by the end I was like, oh my god, as he should. If you've read it, as he should. It was good. It was solid. It was a good read. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I didn't want it to be over. I literally have not stopped thinking about it, and I finished it on the 1st of April. I don't really know why. I loved it so much. I think it was like the pacing was really good. The story itself was really good, but then you add these like really well-rounded characters, and it made for like a perfect story. Because there's a lot of books that like focus a lot more on plot and don't have as much like character development or as much like character in general. And then you have like character studies that are all character focused and don't really have like a clear plot or, you know, things like that. And this book was the perfect mixture. Like, it had beautifully well-rounded characters that you could completely root for and absolutely fall in love with, like I did. And it had a really engaging plot, and I just loved it. I can't wait till I have some money so that I can purchase a physical copy of it, because I listened to it. So I don't have a physical copy, but I would love one. Moving on, we have The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This is a romance novel, and it is about a PhD student and her professor falling in love. Their names are Olive and Adam, respectively. It's a fake dating trope, which kind of disappointed me because I'm kind of sick of the fake dating trope. However, this book really pulled it off. Oh my god, it was so good. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. There were a couple parts about Olive that were really relatable to me, and also just the way that it was written and the banter and chemistry between the two characters was very unexpected. I thought that all of the side characters were very well written, which I think is something that a lot of books lack, especially in romance. When you have like side characters, they lack. That's it. That's all I can say about it. But I felt like these side characters were actually added to the plot, and I really enjoyed all of them, and I loved Olive. I felt like I could relate to her a lot, and Adam was kind of fun. It was a silly, goofy, like, feel-good read, and it gave me all of the warm fuzzies, which is exactly what I look for in romance, which I very rarely get. So I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars, which is really generous. I was expecting to think that it was just really dumb and like just stupid, but no, it was well written. It had good characters, it had good dialogue, it had a good plot. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. So I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm so happy that I enjoyed it because I'm not one for romance. I'm just really happy that I found a romance novel that I actually enjoyed, especially because later this month I read some romance novels that I did not enjoy. So yeah, congrats, Love Hypothesis. You are a very good romance novel, and that is saying a lot for somebody who doesn't like the romance genre. This next book, just like The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, I cannot stop thinking about it. I have no idea how summarizing it is gonna go because holy fucking shit. And that is Wayward by Emily Hart. I hate men. So this book follows 3 separate perspectives in 3 separate years, I guess. The first perspective is through a woman named Kate. It is set in 2019, where she has inherited her great aunt's cottage called the Wayward Cottage, and she moves in there to try and flee a abusive relationship, and while she's there she finds out that she is pregnant. And then we follow her great aunt when her great aunt was a teenager in the 1940s, I think it was, and her perspective is essentially her trying to figure out what happened with her mother and why nobody in her family will talk about her mom. And then some shit goes down between her and a cousin that made me sob my fucking eyes out. I was not expecting to cry during this book, and I'm so happy that I did because I fucking needed it. The great aunt's name is Violet, by the way. I totally forgot to say that. The last perspective is actually a letter written by their great ancestor named Althea, who was on trial during the Salem witch trials. So she was on trial for witchcraft. Through the 2 main perspectives, I would say Althea was kind of like more on the side, but with Violet and Kate, you kind of find out that they have this special like connection to the earth and bugs and birds and things like that, and how both of them have kind of lost touch with that side of them, and they're a little magical, you know, it's magical realism, which is why I picked it up, obviously. And you kind of watch them like reconnect to this side of them, and then you also find out that the reason they got disconnected from this part of themselves is because of men. It just kind of follows like them first learning about their ancestry and then healing from the trauma that men have put these 2 women through, and it just was so good. And I love how the theme of misogyny and men being pieces of shit was like kind of hidden throughout the mystical part of this story. It just wasn't something that I was really like expecting as I started reading more of it, and it got more like unraveled, and it just hit me right in my heart, and I really enjoyed it. It made me really, really hate men a whole lot more than I already do, but it was definitely worth the read, and has also definitely shot up to one of my all-time favorites. I put it in my best of 2023 bookshelf on Goodreads. So yeah, it was really good. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. And I also want to note that the writing was very beautiful. However, this was Amelia Hart's debut, and I can just see her writing improving throughout her career, and I'm really excited to see like what else she publishes. And yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say about that, but this was a 5 out of 5. It was very lovely, and I'm very happy that I read it. The next 3 books I read, I was so excited about when I bought them and when I started the first one, And then I was completely and utterly disappointed, and that was the Brown Sisters trilogy. I'm fucking pissed. I'm quite literally not putting them back on my shelf. I hated them so much. I'm going to give them away or sell them or something. All right, I was so upset. If I remember correctly, I gave Get a Life Chloe Brown 2 stars, and I gave Take a Hint Dani Brown 1 star. We'll get to this one. I have fucking thoughts. My favorite out of the 3 was Actor Age Eve Brown, which I gave a 3 out of 5 star. A couple of things that I did like about this trilogy was that the men were very well-rounded emotionally. Like, they actually had some emotional intelligence to them, and they weren't just angry, brooding pieces of shit. One of the main things that really like irked me about it was the endings. I didn't like the endings. I think that the like big fights between all 3 couples should have been more drawn out, if that makes any sense. I feel like they were like just big explosions that like fell down really quickly, and I don't know, it just seemed like they resolved too quickly and that they happened too suddenly, if that makes any sense. One thing that I hated in particular happened the most in Take a Hint Dani Brown, and that was first the like preface of sexual attraction. Now, okay, here's the thing. I know that like being attracted to someone or whatever is one of the most pivotal things about getting into a relationship. However, I do not think that it should be the foundation of a relationship, and that happened mostly with Take a Hint Dani Brown, obviously, and then Get a Life Chloe Brown. Those 2 had the more like sexual attraction was like the main thing in their relationship, whereas like with Eve's book, it was a lot less that, which I really appreciated, which is why I liked Eve the most. This book in particular had some real shit chemistry, and I think that they were just like together to be together, which is why this one was my least favorite. And also something that this one did the most of was skip over the like traumas or emotional blockages that all of the characters had. All 6 of these main characters had their problems, obviously, and they were all addressed and like resolved, but I feel like this one did the worst at it. It was just so bad. Like, I didn't like it. I think Chloe Brown was incredibly average. I do have to say, however, that Red was my favorite out of all of the love interests. Eve's book was my favorite, and I think that this was mostly because of the fact that like I felt these 2 characters' relationships wasn't based on sex, where Dani's was and Chloe's kind of was. Like, I would say that she teetered a little too close to like that, but this one did not, and it was good. This one was good. Brown Sisters trilogy made me very upset. I was very expectant. I just had a lot of high expectations, which maybe ruined it a little bit for me. I have no idea if that's why I didn't like it, or if they just were kind of crap, because I feel like they were just kind of crap. The next 3 books I read were all for a video. I filmed myself reading fantasy for 36 hours straight because I don't like the fantasy genre. However, I have always felt that I never gave it a proper chance. So I vlogged myself reading fantasy for 36 hours straight, and one of the books that I read was an audiobook. It was Once Upon a Broken Heart. That book was so fucking bad. It was so fucking bad. It was so bad. And then the books that I actually read was Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik and A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I have the sticky notes on there because they're from my library and I don't want you to know what library I go to. So these 3 were all for a video, and I'm not going to talk too much about them in this one because I have that one coming out soon and I talk about my feelings about them a lot more in depth. But I gave A Darker Shade of Magic 4 out of 5 stars. I was really impressed. I genuinely really enjoyed this, and I'm really excited to keep reading this series. I gave Spinning Silver 2 out of 5 stars just because I liked a couple of the characters, but I thought the plot was so fucking boring and I couldn't get into it, which really sucked because I was hoping that more than just one of these books was gonna be good, but nope, I give this one a 2 out of 5 stars. And then Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, I gave a 1 out of 5 stars. It It was fucking laughable. It was so bad. It was just horrific. And I listened to it on audiobook, of course, because, which made it, like, it made it funny. Like, listening to it was definitely ideal because of how shit it was. Like, it was just, I was laughing at it, like, straight up laughing at it. Like, I was like, are you for real? Like, somebody fucking put this on paper? It wasn't good. I gave it a 1 star. The last 2 books that I picked up, I chose because they are from my sister's favorite book series, so I thought that I would, you know, give it a go, and then she would have somebody to talk about them with, and that was Cinder and Scarlet, both by Marissa Meyer, obviously. These are the first 2 books in the Lunar Chronicles series, and I am so happy that I picked them up. They were so good. I gave them both a 4 out of 5 stars. I definitely liked Scarlet a lot more than I liked Cinder, but I think that's just because, obviously, as a series goes on like that, you get to learn more about the characters and they become more developed. And also, Thorn, he is a slay. I loved him so much. So the story starts off in New Beijing, where Cinder is a cyborg, but she's also a mechanic, and there is a plague that has been killing people in this area for many years. And the story kind of starts off when the prince asks Cinder, who's this very well-known mechanic, to fix one of his androids, and from there a whole bunch of shit happens, and she somehow comes in contact with a doctor who finds out some stuff about Cinder and her lineage, and all the while the throne is being challenged by the Lunar Queen, Queen Levana, who lives on the moon because there is a whole society called Lunar on the moon, and she wants to take over the Earth as well as the moon, and shit goes down. She's kind of fucking crazy. And then we find out that there is a missing lunar princess that is thought to be dead, but also some people don't think that she's actually dead. And then we follow Scarlet, who is trying to find her grandmother, who knows some shit about this lunar princess. And there's also Thorn in here, who I don't really know his significance yet, but he was such a good character. I really loved Thorn. These are definitely worth the read. I really enjoyed them. I gave them both 4 out of 5 stars, and I can't fucking wait to continue to read them. Those were the 11 books that I read this month. I had some favorites. I'm really happy about that, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, all those YouTube things. I also have my Goodreads and Twitter linked below. Be careful, my Twitter is a shit show. You've been warned. I post new videos every Sunday and Thursday, and I hope to see you again. Bye!